So my name is Ian Mulville, born in Ireland, raised in England, in London, which is where I spent my formative years, and now I live in Australia. I live on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, but between leaving the UK and arriving here in Australia, I've been travelling for near enough 25 years, lived in Germany, spent a lot of time in the Middle East. I've lived in Saudi Arabia, Yemen and Dubai. Spent a lot of time in Egypt and Lebanon and perhaps another 10 or so Middle Eastern countries and 50 other countries around the world. So really with that type of that amount of travel, you can't help but meet interesting people and have great experiences, and I believe that shapes you. So I'm now, as I say, based on the Sunshine Coast here with my family, my wife and 2 young kids, and really enjoying everything that has to offer. I've had a very successful career in human resources, or human remains as some people call it, and that's been very good to me. Did my Masters in HR in the UK, I've worked for some very well-known companies, and I continue to consult within HR. But right now I'm really find that I'm drawn towards writing, and that's become a passion of mine, and I hope of course that it leads to success whereby that I can move into that on a more full-time basis. The real thing that, let's call it the catalyst for writing the book, for actually getting my finger out and starting the book proper, was the death of a very close friend of mine in the UK. That was about 18 months ago. Really the first of my peer group, somebody that I grew up with, left us far too soon, and I think when that happens you start thinking about your own mortality. So we all think we have time. I'm sure he thought he had time and he had plans, so really I thought I will do this now. That tied in with something else. A few months prior to that I'd been in Bali and I happened to meet a numerologist who offered to give me a quick session. I've never been into that sort of thing before, and one of the things that came out was that my, if you like, my life path or something along those lines would involve me being an artist. Now I don't really have that many artistic talents. I'm not particularly musical, like I can draw a little bit, but I know that I do have a capacity for words, so that had been in my mind already. Maybe I'm destined to be a writer, because writing as art. When my friend passed away and I started pondering things, really those two things came together, and that's when I decided to put pen to paper. Another thing that happened around the same time was I started reading the Millennium Trilogy, so the Stieg Larsson books, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and so on, and when reading it I thought whether this was naivety or ego or I don't know, but I thought I can do this. I mean, for me it's very well written and it breaks a lot of new ground. It's quite controversial, characters are really well developed, and I thought, this story I've had in my head for a long time, I can do this, I really can do this. And so once I got started, and there's that psychological barrier, maybe it's the first paragraph, maybe it's the first chapter, who knows, but I really thought I can do this, and I showed a few people the first couple of chapters and the feedback was positive, and I just kept going.